How's everybody doing today? It is January 8th, 2021, and I am going to be going through a few tabs here to show you just what's going on all around the world, but most of this is going to be about Canada. So if you're from Canada or know anybody from Canada, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to this video. But I believe 100% that this is going to be happening everywhere. It already is happening everywhere, but I'm just being able to show you through what come out today, and then I did not a little digging, I did a lot of digging, so I got some stuff that I really want you to see. So I hope everybody's doing great. Let's continue to pray. Please continue to pray. Things are truly reaching levels we've never seen before, so our prayers are needed now more than ever. So let's start here. Okay, this is from the Daily Mail, okay, and this came out 2 days ago. It says the woman flees quarantine camp just 2 days after returning to Australia. Okay, and I've covered probably 3, 4, maybe 5 stories like this of people, so-called escaping from these quarantine centers, right, or leaving when they weren't supposed to, okay. And here we'll read this real quick. It says a woman has been caught climbing a fence to escape a quarantine camp. Okay, here we go, right? FEMA camps, right? Detention centers, right? Well, they're calling them a quarantine camp. Just 2 days after arriving in Australia, the 33-year-old had returned from overseas and was in mandatory 14-day quarantine at Howard Springs in the Northern Territory when she fled on Tuesday. Again, the 33, their numbers. Says CCTV footage from the facility shows the woman throwing her luggage over a fence before climbing over and casually walking off with her bag. This it doesn't make a lot of sense. You're fleeing from this thing, but you're gonna take your luggage, and but the reason that these stories come out, okay, and I was talking about this on the last ones I covered. I was telling you that these are all setting precedents, okay? They're putting them into the mainstream news, showing people aren't listening. People are leaving these quarantines. There's not enough restrictions at these quarantines. Too many people are getting up and leaving, right? So what does that open up the door to do, right? Well, obviously, put in more restrictions, put you in stiffer areas with more security. Well, let's check out what come out today about Canada. Right here. This come out from CNS News. It says, Canada now requires negative CV test and potential 14-day stay in a federal quarantine facility for travelers. Yeah. Federal quarantine facility. It's come out just today. Okay, here it goes. It says, to legally enter Canada, travelers must test negative for CV19 and must quarantine themselves for 14 days once in the country. If your quarantine plans do not satisfy the government, it can require you to stay in a federal quarantine facility, according to the Canadian government. Yeah, you heard that right. If your quarantine plans don't satisfy the government, they have the right to take you and put you in one of their federal quarantine facilities, okay? It says the new rules go into effect today, January 7th. So it says all air passengers 5 years of age or older will be required to test negative for CV19 before traveling from another country to Canada, stated Transport Canada in their press release. So this went into effect yesterday, okay? The article come out today, but it went into effect yesterday, okay? But let's keep going. It says travelers must show documentation of a negative CV19 test using, that's right, the PCR test, and it must be performed 72 hours before entering the country. But listen, anyone who receives a negative test result and is authorized to enter Canada must still complete the full mandatory 14-day quarantine, said the press release. So it doesn't matter what you test. Either way, you're going to have to do this mandatory quarantine. It says the Government of Canada further states that it is increasing surveillance efforts to ensure that travelers obey the 14-day quarantine rule. Are you hearing this? Because this is coming out in mainstream now, so when they're talking like this in the mainstream, how much further it goes, than what they're saying here. You know, and we've been talking about the tracking and the tracing and, you know, everything that they've been able to do because of this scenario that's going on right now, okay? It says, as has been the case for months, all travelers will have their quarantine plans reviewed by a government official, and if not suitable, will be required to quarantine in a federal quarantine facility, stated the government. Yep, so they get to go over your thing. They get to say, oh, nope, there's too many people in your house that you're trying to go to, or you don't have a separate bedroom with a separate bathroom. That doesn't work. You have to go to our facilities. Yeah, that's what it's going to, okay? It says, violating any instructions provided when you enter Canada is an offense under the Quarantine Act and could lead up to 6 months in prison and or $750,000 in fines, said Transport Canada. Okay? We're going to get into the Quarantine Act in a minute. It says, Canada's Minister of Health, Patty Hajdu, said, since the emergence of CD19, we have had in place strong measures to prevent the importation of CD19 cases. Starting on January 7th, we will require travelers coming to Canada to test negative for CD19 before boarding their flight. It says the 14-day quarantine will also remain in place, she said. We can all work together to save lives. Stay in Canada and follow public health guidance to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your communities, right? It's always to protect us. It's always to protect. It's always for our own good, right? But now, watch. This is what we're going to do, okay? So I started looking into this. So let's look into I had to look up the Quarantine Act, right? So I'm like, let's check out the Quarantine Act. Let's see, you know, look at this, okay? The Quarantine Act is applicable to persons arriving in or departing from Canada. It provides measures for the screening, health assessment, and medical examination of travelers to determine whether they have a communicable disease and to prevent the introduction and spread of such disease. Okay, so you have to see this. This is, I mean, these things have been in place, but they're adding amendments to them. Okay, you know, and like it says right here, the Contraventions Act allows the issuance of tickets as an alternative to the summary conviction procedure set out in the criminal code. Offenses under the Quarantine Act could result in tickets with fines ranging from $275 to $1,000 based on the seriousness of the conduct. They could also result in proceedings under the criminal code. Yeah. Okay, so I went into this. Let's look up the Contraventions Act. So I wanted to see what that was. You know, right here. And I wanted to see what, because they said that they put an amendment into it, okay? Right here is the release of this, okay? It says, today, in an effort to continue minimizing the impacts of the pandemic on Canadians and stopping the spread of CV19, regulatory amendments under the Contraventions Act came into force. These changes provided increased flexibility for law enforcement agencies, including the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, local and provincial police forces, to issue tickets to individuals who do not comply with orders under the Federal Quarantine Act. I mean, you have to see this, okay? These are all going into effect. It's going to continue to get more and more serious, okay? So I was reading this. I'll leave the links to this because I read so much today, and obviously I can't cover, you know, hardly any of it. I want to keep this short for you. And but I'll leave this link in the description. There is a lot in here. But the one thing that stood out to me, because I'm always still thinking of Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, right? And of it in your sustainable living, your mega cities 2050, right? That they've showed the plan, it's been laid out, everything's following it, okay? But now check this out. Right down here, I saw this sustainable development. Right here, okay? It says, the Federal Sustainable Development Strategy is the government's plan and vision for a more sustainable Canada. It outlines goals and actions to promote clean growth, ensure healthy ecosystems, and build safe, secure, and sustainable communities. The Department of Justice supports the Federal Sustainable Development Strategy goal of low-carbon government through the actions identified in its 3-year Department Sustainability Development Strategy. Yeah. Okay, so I read that and I'm going, oh my gosh, you know, it's just laid out perfectly. You know, everything that they put out for Agenda 21, Agenda 20, 2030, and then the mega cities. I mean, it just is laid out perfect. And if you don't know about like the mega cities, just go and look it up. Do some quick research, and I'm telling you that you will see where they want us, okay? Where they are trying to push us and herd us into these areas. You know, I always talk about why all these natural disasters that aren't natural, right, are happening so much more in so many areas. They're continuing to push people, families, entire towns out of the way, or push you into areas that they want you in, okay? Because what happens if they get you into a tight-knit city, right? Well, you're more controllable, okay? You're easier to maintain, you're easier to tell what to do, right? Look at this. This is just a quick article. This is from October 22nd of this year. It says Life in 2050, a look at the sustainable cities of the future. This says, in the next 30 years, cities worldwide will be forced to change in ways never seen before. It says, sustainability will no longer be an enticing feature. It will be the driving force behind any major city. Sustainable cities of the future will be bigger, greener, and more intertwined with technology. Yeah, what do you think the technology is, right? Tracking. That's the technology. Big Brother. No privacy. Okay? It says there will be multiple instigators behind this shift. Climate change and the advancement in technology are the obvious ones, but they are unlikely to be the most potent forces. The main reason cities will be forced to become significantly more sustainable will be due to population surges. That's right, will be forced, okay? It says, the world's population is expected to reach 9 billion by 2050. This is up from the current figure of 7.8 billion. It says these numbers have been on a significant rise for some time now, as we've seen a jump of nearly 2 billion just in this century alone. This population growth presents troubling implication for the world economy, climate change, resource availability, quality of life, and much more. Humanity will have to adapt. Well, what do you think that is, right? Too many people, what are they going to do, right? I mean, that's pretty obvious. They're going to get rid of, things and people that are not wanted, right? So when you see it laid out like this, I mean, this is all public information, and when it's that obvious and you're starting to see it in your mainstream news, it's just definitely time to continue to plan, continue to get ready, because this is happening everywhere. It's not just in Canada, the United States, Australia, the UK. But look at here, passengers from the UK to be sent to quarantine facility, the Delhi government. So here we go. The passengers tested positive for CV19 and will be taken to an isolation facility. It's just it's everywhere. Everybody gets so caught up on just their area, but they have to realize this is so much bigger. It says the government of Delhi issued a statement on Friday, the 8th of January, announcing that all CV19 positive passengers arriving from the UK will be isolated in an isolation facility. This step comes as a precautionary measure amid the spread of the highly transmissible variant of the virus, which was first discovered in the UK. Now, I've talked about this. I got to be careful because the way I was talking about it before, I can't really say. But remember, you had the first virus that come out, and everybody was kind of not as scared of it. Okay, well, a new version of it has now come out, which is supposedly worse, etc., which now is allowing them to do all this. Okay, all of these things that you're seeing right now is being done because they're saying that this second strain is now spreading everywhere, okay, and that it's more infectious and so on and so forth, okay. It says the passengers who tested negative will also be taken to a quarantine facility for 7 days and will be required to home quarantine for 7 more days. So hear that? So even if you test negative, you don't have to test positive. Even if you test negative, you still have to go to their facility for a week. It's happening everywhere, all right? And the lockdowns are definitely getting more and more evident, and they're extending them and making them much, harder to deal with. This says Greece extends some CV lockdown curbs until January 18th. Now that date kind of stood out to me just because in the United States, with the inauguration being, right there, it was just, I don't know, it just stood out, I was wondering why that date was picked. But, look at Athens. Greece on Friday extended some lockdown curbs to contain the spread of the CV until January 18th. Deputy Civil Protection Minister Nikos Hardelius said in a televised briefing, says the country is in lockdown since nearly November due to spike in infections, mainly in the north, has seen its public health system come under severe strain while infections are receding at a slow pace. Oh, it's rough, Maintaining a low viral load during the winter is difficult. Infectious diseases specialist Vanna, said, if we allow conditions that spark an epidemiological surge, we will see big pressure on our health system. See, that's what I'm saying. Don't overthink it's just in your country, your state, your city. This is so much bigger, okay? Here's Australia. They have just been getting hammered for as long as I can remember. It's insane down there. Look at Australia tightens border controls on UK COVID strain threat. Okay, I just said that, but hopefully that won't get caught. The strain, see, so the new strain. All right, so that's what I said. They're able to do all this new stuff, right? Look at all international passengers must test negative before the flight. Brisbane in a 3-day lockdown as UK strain detected in the city. So look, they detected, 1 case, 2 cases, 20 cases, whatever it is, and they locked the entire city down for 3 days. It's you're seeing it, you're seeing it everywhere. Now over in London, look at it, says London declares emergency. 1 in 30 now has CV. 1 in 30 people in London, England's capital and largest city with some 9 million residents, is currently infected with CV. That was the shocking statistics revealed by Mayor Sadiq Khan as he was forced to declare an emergency incident in his city on Friday afternoon, which was today. Says there are now clear signs that Britain is starting to lose the battle against the faster spreading variant. See, everything is being changed because of this new one, okay? This new variant of the CV. The current crisis is every bit as serious as the one the country suffered in springtime, and according to some statistics, even worse. Khan revealed Friday that there are 7,034 people currently hospitalized with CV-19 in the city, as a 35% increase compared to the peak of the pandemic in April. Okay, now you need to catch these part, okay? When they're saying it's as serious as springtime and maybe even worse, well, we know what the lockdowns and how severe the lockdowns were, right? So you must expect them now again, okay? And it's just, it's happening everywhere. I know I keep repeating that, but I just want you to see it. I don't want you to fear this. I don't want you to be scared at all. That's not what any of my videos are about, and I hope I don't come off that way. I try my best not to. I just want you to have the information so you can be able to make some decisions that will, put you in a better situation if you get locked down or if you get, put in a situation that we talk about, okay? And if it doesn't happen, that's awesome. You don't understand. It's not about wanting to be right. I pray that I'm wrong. That's the whole thing. It's I wish that these things don't happen like this. But when they show the plan that's laid out and everything follows it, it's hard to, it not happen because they're just showing us. And I wanted to check this one at the end because check this out because we know where it's all headed. Politico, look at this. Biden calls for speeding up the release of the CV shots. It says, President-elect Joe Biden intends to deploy every available dose of the CV-19 when he takes office, in a shift from Trump administration approach to reserving half of the available supply for the second shots in a 2-dose regimen. Yeah, that's right. So as soon as he comes in, he wants to deploy every available dose. So if people still don't believe that this is the end game, that this is one of the, you know, parts of the end game, it's screaming right in front of your face. So, but I am, you know, I'm happy to be talking to all you, because the more people I talk to every day, the more I know that are waking up to everything that's going on. There's so much deceiving that's going on right now, and the more we can talk, the more that we can continue to share this information, the better off we're going to be. But the number one thing that you need to do right now is get right with God. Get your faith. Make sure you always have that. Continue to pray, because, you know, if I didn't have that, there's no chance I could ever do what I'm doing. You know, it gives me my strength. It keeps me grounded. It gives me direction. You know, everything. So I just, you know, I hope that you have that as well. And you know, we just have to continue to plan, protect our families at all time. I'm going to try to do a video on, you know, kind of a breakdown of what I think the best things for you to do in your situation for a plan. Okay, you know, a quick plan. It won't be, you know, ridiculously in depth, but it'll just be kind of a breakdown of what I think an easy, quick, you know, plan that you can put together with your family that will help if these situations come. So I'll start working on that and get that out to you as soon as I can. But just thank you to everybody. I'm glad that we're all still fighting through this, and as long as these channels stay up, I'm uploading on BitChute now as well. I'm going to continue to do more live streams, so I also have a DLive account now that I will start using. I'm doing my best to kind of spread out so that if I do get shut down, I won't lose all of you great people talking to every day. So everybody, stay safe, stay strong, no fear, no panic. Just remember, protect your family. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.